everybody for coming. I'm pretty excited to have you all here. For those of you who don't know me, I think I know most of you, or I know most of you at least either from some yoga classes, I think, and maybe just from being in St. Catharines. But my name is Carol Prentice, and I discovered emotional freedom technique a couple of years ago, and I've been practicing it for probably 3 or 4 years now. And my background is actually in psychology and social work. So I've worked as a therapist for about 7 years, and traditionally working in the field of addictions. I've worked at a shelter for abused women. I've worked in child welfare. And I spent about 7 years really trying to help people through that process of talk therapy, and found I wasn't really getting anywhere but to the road of burnout. And then when I found EFT, it was the most fascinating thing on the planet. It was a technique that I could implement into my practice of therapy that would allow people to make shifts and changes in their lives that would normally take years of therapy. Within 10 minutes, I could resolve an unresolved issue that someone's had from childhood for any number of years, and I could help them resolve that issue in 10 or 15 minutes. And it was like, that would take years of therapy. So I was really, really excited when I found the technique, and that path and journey of teaching EFT to others and sharing the technique has just unfolded in such a natural way for me that I really feel blessed. So in addition to that path, I'm also a certified yoga instructor, and I've been practicing for about 8 years now and teaching for almost 4. So I have been studying the mind-body connection for probably close to 10 years probably. But all I know is that there's still more to know. So that path of learning is infinite, right? So we just keep an open mind and see where it takes us. But I'm currently teaching at Brock a continuing education course that involves a little bit of EFT and manifestation and understanding how we create our reality from the inside out, which I'm also pretty excited about as well. So that being said, I'm going to try to get to the gist of the technique as directly as I can, but maybe you can let me know first what you already know about the technique. If anybody's heard of it, if they have a little bit of information about it so I don't overlap too much.
Coincidence, my homeopath just taught me a technique that's, I don't know how yours quite work, but it's holding your thumbs.
Holding your thumbs?
And then the baby toes.
Okay.
And then relate it until you feel a throbbing. And
yes.
Relating.
Like a pulse or like
pulsing,
yeah.
To open the medium.
The meridian lines.
Meridian lines.
Whereabouts on the thumb? Whereabouts on the thumb has she got you to hold? Here?
Actually, no, she's not so much the area. I know that's an acupuncture point.
Yeah, it's definitely an acupuncture point.
No, it was just holding the whole thumb until it throbbed.
Okay.
So it was kind of coincidental.
Because that's one of the points, actually, that we'll use today.
Okay, but there you go.
Awesome.
That's my story.
Cool. Anybody else have any idea what we're about to get into for the next 2 hours?
I only did a little bit with Tony Murdoch when I was going through teacher training.
Oh, cool.
He was my
So he does a little bit of
philosophy teacher and everything. Actually,
I know who Tony is.
I think it was actually maybe not in teacher training, but maybe a meditation workshop that I took with him.
Yeah.
Introduced a little bit of it, so I don't know too much about it.
You just know a little bit of the basics of it.
Yeah. I don't even know.
Not even.
It was so long ago that.
Okay. So does anybody know anything about Chinese meridian lines of energy in the body?
Yeah.
You've heard about that, Chinese meridian lines of energy in the body? No?
The kinesiology classes from here.
Okay.
Last summer.
And I'll show you a couple of images that I have of meridian lines in the body so you can get an idea. So the easiest way for me to explain EFT emotional freedom technique and what happens is that every time you have a negative thought, not only does it cause a negative emotion in the physical body, but it also, before that happens, there's a disruption in that energy system that we have in the body. So every time I have that thought, it causes a disruption in my energy system, and then I have a negative emotion as a result of that. Okay, so you can see it's like a 3-part process. So imagine 3 dominoes. So what we're going to do is I'm going to get you to think that thought that normally makes you feel a negative emotion, that normally makes you feel anxious, that normally makes you feel angry, that normally makes you feel fill in the blank. Okay? And then I'm going to calm the energy system down with you by tapping on the acupuncture points. So we think the thought, calm the energy system down, think the thought, calm the energy system down, think the thought, calm the energy system down so that the negative emotion doesn't result. So the next time you think the thought, you feel calm and neutral instead of feeling the negative emotion. So maybe some of you have heard of the Pavlovian dog experiment, where he would ring a bell and feed a dog, and ring a bell and feed a dog, and then when he would ring the bell, the dog would salivate, right? It's how your brain works. It's called law of associative memory. And everything in your life really works this way. It's like driving by Starbucks, and you have a thought about your favorite drink that you normally get from Starbucks, right? And then your mouth starts to water because you're like, ooh, that'd be great right about now, wouldn't it? So what we're going to do instead is rewire that neural pathway, not only in your brain, but in the energetic system of your body, in the meridian lines of the body. So we're going to think the thought and then direct you in another direction where you get to feel calm. Think the thought, change the direction, think the thought, change the direction. So the next time you think the thought, you feel calm instead of feeling the craving for Starbucks. It's like ring the bell, letting the dog outside, ring the bell, let the dog outside, ring the bell, let the dog outside. So the next time you ring the bell, he does not begin to salivate, he runs to the front door. Everybody see how that works? It's kind of a rewiring. So the hardest part for people is doing the unwiring, is going back and finding out where my belief system started. Where did they come from? Why do I think this way to begin with? Because a lot of that actually comes from our childhood, right? So everything that we're still doing now and operating from now comes from subconscious beliefs that were usually established in the first 7 years of our life. That's the not so great news. So a lot of times people use EFT for, even though I feel anxious right now, and it will work for anxious feelings that you feel now, for example, or frustrated feelings that you have now, or food cravings that you have now, but that's generally speaking temporary. Sometimes, but not always. Some people get relief just by doing tapping on that surface level. But what often happens is it tends to come back. So when it comes back, that's when we have to say, what's my earliest memory of this same feeling? We have to go back and through the layers of understanding why that keeps coming up in my life. Because if anything keeps reoccurring in your life, and you're always present when it happens, then obviously there's a wiring within your subconscious mind that's viewing the world through that lens. Does everybody see what I mean by that? Does anybody have anything in their life that keeps happening to them, and they don't know why? Nothing? Good, you're all free to go. Maybe something, but we're not sure if we want to share that yet. Yeah. Okay. So, EFT is a meridian-based therapy. It falls under the category of energy psychology. There's lots of different techniques under energy psychology, thought field therapy, and there's lots of other stuff that's coming out as well. But EFT was sort of the original, and started back in the 1980s. So again, I can email you this PowerPoint presentation, so don't be too worried if you can't get all the information from it. The success rate with EFT is about 80 to 90%, which, again, I was really excited about when I found that and discovered that and started using that with some of my clients and for myself, of course. The results are permanent. That's the other really exciting thing. As long as we're not using necessarily just surface stuff, although it can be permanent just for surface issues, when we resolve the underlying issues that are connected to that, it's permanent. And then the world doesn't necessarily change outside of you, but it does begin to look different, because you're then viewing it through a different belief system or a different lens. Because EFT begins to shift and change that belief system that's lying underneath. Has anybody ever done any work on belief systems and where they come from and all that stuff? Yeah. A little bit?
Yeah. Last few years I've done a lot of work for myself.
Yeah, good. Anything that you've discovered?
Yeah, a lot. I don't want to take your time.
Yeah, but there's a lot there, right? Okay. So it is kind of strange. It's probably one of the strangest things that you'll ever do. Whatever happens here at the yoga studio stays here. I won't tell anybody. But there's a scientific reason behind it, right? If we were to go and do this in China, where they understand meridians much more than we do in North America, they wouldn't think twice about you walking around tapping on certain points of your body. They'd be like, oh, look, they're tapping on the meridian point. That's good. But meanwhile, in Canada, if we were to do that, or if I'm doing it in my car and people see me doing it, they're like, what is that lady doing? There's also another component to it. We're going to do some eye movements. We're going to hum and count and hum, and that's firing different parts of your brain or different sides of your brain. And again, it's very strange. But that's where most people feel the shift and the change. And I'll explain a little bit more about why we do that when we get there. The amazing thing about EFT is that if you had a negative memory that you told me about and you were really upset when you were telling me about that, and we did a couple of rounds of tapping as you told me that story, in about 5 or 10 minutes when you tell me the story again, you might actually be able to laugh at it instead of feeling sadness. And not that it takes away the essence of your experience. So what happens with EFT is that the memory stays the same, but the emotional charge that's connected to it is different. It's neutral. It's calm. And we can actually reinstall positive instead, if that's something that we like to do. The other really important part to note about EFT is that it does not take away normal experiences. So if someone has a fear of heights or a fear of balconies, and we do an hour of tapping on fear of balcony or fear of heights, it doesn't mean that they go to the balcony and jump off the balcony. It just means that they don't feel that negative emotion anymore. They can just be calm on the balcony. So it doesn't take away sort of normal experiences of emotions that we might have. There's a really great little picture, if anybody can see, of the meridian lines of energy in the body. I know you've probably seen them before, but you probably haven't seen a lot of them. And again, there's lots of information on Google or on the internet to be able to see all the different meridian lines. And I'll tell you a little bit more later in the presentation about which each point is for. There's a point on your first finger, and it's the forgiveness finger, so to speak. So if there's anger or resentment that you're working on, then we spend a little longer tapping on that point. I'll skip that. So, I'll go back up. Dr. Roger Callahan in the 1980s had a technique called thought field therapy, and it was a bit more complicated than EFT. It was actually different algorithms. So depending on what emotion the client was experiencing, there's a different combination of points to tap. There's a different combination of things to do. And Gary Craig, who was the founder of EFT, was a student of Dr. Roger Callahan's. So Gary Craig found it a bit too complicated, and what he did was simplified those algorithms and created EFT, where we use the same procedure in the same points, regardless of what the emotion or what the experience is. So there's 14 acupuncture points that we'll use. I'll teach you at least 12. I'll give you all 14 today. All 14 are actually on your handout. But there's 12 main ones that we'll use. We'll probably break it down to probably only using 6 points at a time. If your number isn't shifting as you're tapping those 6 points, then we add in some of the other points afterwards. This is one of my other favorite slides. So you have a thought or a memory, and that triggers a disruption in your energy system, because the discovery statement of EFT, the basis of EFT, is that the cause of all negative emotions is actually a disruption in the body's energy system. So in traditional Western psychology, we understand that a thought causes an emotion, right? We would just say, well, you have a negative thought, then you have a negative emotion that's related to that. Would everybody agree with that? Yes. And then traditional psychology would say, okay, well, change your thought, and you can change your emotion about that, right? So if you have a fear of heights, and someone says, well, when I think of that balcony, I feel fear, and someone says, okay, well, just don't be afraid, just think positive thoughts. Look how nice it is. Look how beautiful the balcony is. Does that change how that person feels? No. If anybody has a fear of spiders, and as soon as they see that thing move, they feel this feeling in their body that's so overwhelming. And if you just said to that person, oh, don't be afraid, it's just a spider, does that change that for them? If you get them to think, look how nice the spider is? No. So there's a missing component for me in understanding Western psychology and Eastern traditional methods as well. There's a missing component, and that missing component is the physical body. That missing component is the energy system within the physical body, because that's obviously becoming disrupted. And it's true, if you could really change your thought it would change your emotion. But EFT is the simplest way that I've ever found in 10 years of studying the mind that can do that. So what we do is I get you to look at the spider and then calm your energy system down so that you don't feel the fear. Does everybody see how that works? Not yet, but you will. Just to understand on a conscious level before we get into it, right? So a thought or a memory triggers a disruption in the body's energy system, and that is experienced as physical, psychological, or emotional discomfort. Okay, so we're going to think the thought or the memory and calm the energy system down, removing the disruption, so that eliminates the physical, psychological, or emotional discomfort.
And will you have to keep doing that, or it will just become natural?
That becomes your way of being.
Okay.
Yeah. So I want you to imagine, like, the way your brain works is that it develops a neural pathway, and it almost looks like a spider web. So there's this neuron that branches out and connects with another neuron, and that branches out and connects with another neuron, and that branches out and connects with another neuron. So you have a whole section of neural pathways in your brain that are connected to your beliefs about men, or your beliefs about work, or your beliefs about money, or your beliefs about spiders and snakes, right? So the thing is, we've got to sort of eliminate, I don't want to use the word eliminate, but we've got to get all the little nooks and crannies. We've got to get all the little points that are connected to your belief system about that particular issue. So once we clear it completely, then we can develop or reinstall a new one. The most important thing is to understand there's different aspects. So when someone's working on a fear of heights, for example, or do you have a fear that I can give you? Spiders?
I think of one, it might sound silly, but I was bit by a dog as a kid, and I have 2 dogs now. And so every time a child comes around with my dogs, I just get
really upset
and really freaked out because I'm thinking, what if the dog?
That's a great example.
Bites the kid.
Yeah, and because you have a memory of being bit by a dog when you were young.
Yeah.
So what I would do is go back to that memory and ask you to feel the same fear that you felt when you were little, when that happened. Mm-hmm. And we'd go through all the different, and I could see it just comes up. We're going to go back, and that'd be a really great example to use. We're going to go back and we're going to tap on all the different things. Even though I don't like the dog, the way it moves. Oh, it moves so quick. I don't like the dog's teeth. Ow, that really hurt. We're going to go through the different aspects of it. And when you resolve that issue in the subconscious mind, you will react differently when you see dogs around little kids now.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, because we're just operating, and it's not who you are as a person, because we have the ego creates this identity of who we are, and it's not who you are, it's really just how your brain works, and it's just how the energy system stores things, it's just how the body and cellular memory in the body stores things. But that's now that we're understanding things a bit more with energy psychology, we're able to shift and change that a little bit.
Would that work with the grief?
Grief, yes.
And anger?
Grief,
sometimes
anger.
It's the opposite, and people who don't respect your grief, they get angry. You have to look at, then it gets complicated.
And that becomes more like when I was talking about that neural pathway that's like a spider web. It's a big, complicated spider web in your brain, right?
I've been working with that.
Yeah. So grief is really hard for people to let go of. Usually, because EFT works wonders for everything, but for grief specifically, what most people find is that it could be 10 or 20 years later. It could, because there is a normal range of grief that human beings do experience. But if there's grief that's 3, 5, 10, 20 years, and they're still experiencing grief, sometimes they don't want to let go of it, and there's a reason that the mind doesn't want to let go of it, and we need to identify what that is. And it's sometimes they don't want to let go of it because they feel like they have to let go of that person. And if I let go of my grief, then I really have to let go of that person, and I don't want to do that. I want to honor them. The grief is a way of honoring that person and the presence that they had in our lives. Right, and so there's a fear of, we don't want to let go of the grief because then I'm not honoring that person anymore. But that's just a belief system. That's just a way of, we can still honor that person, and when we're tapping, we would incorporate that. We can still honor that person, but we can choose to be free from our grief and still honor the person.
That's difficult.
I know. I know. I've done a little bit of grief work with a mom who had a stillborn, and she didn't want to let go of the sadness or the grief because what was difficult for her, it had been about 4 or 5 years, it was very difficult because it meant that she wasn't honoring that baby's life anymore. And then there's anger connected to that for people who don't allow you to feel the grief. And I would that's the top.
Worse. That's worse.
I would start there then.
Yeah, that's for me.
But it'd probably be about an hour or so, maybe 2. So what causes the disruption in the energy system? What kind of events? Having an accident or trauma. So it works really, EFT works great with people who've experienced, like even being bit by a dog. Some people have trauma with a big capital T, like a big trauma in their life, and other people have had just lots of little traumas in their life. Like little things that have happened that we still hang on to at some level, right? So specific emotional incidents, like if you have a specific memory about a teacher making fun of you in class or making you feel embarrassed in front of the classroom. So people who have a fear of public speaking, it's not really a fear of public speaking. It's a fear of being laughed at, or fear of being judged, or fear of making a mistake. So when we do EFT, we start with, even though I have this fear of public speaking, and even though I have this anxiety, but what I really need to help them tap on, or what they need to tap on is, I'm afraid people will judge me, I'm afraid people will laugh at me, and I'm afraid I'm going to make mistakes. And then we ask, okay, what's your earliest memory of that? Oh, well, when I was 9, I was in, the classroom, and the teacher made me feel embarrassed in front of everybody. Okay, how embarrassed did you feel on a scale of 1 to 10? Well, it was a 10. It was awful. Okay, even though Mrs. Jones really embarrassed me, I can love and accept myself. And when they resolve that underlying issue, then they can get up and speak. You ever see how that works?
Yeah.
Okay. And you're all very contemplative about maybe your own issue and what you're working on and what might be underneath that. Psychological reversal is really an interesting component, and we always say an affirmation before we do the round of tapping, and that's to eliminate psychological reversal, which I'll call PR from this point on. PR is kind of present in about 40% of most issues and about 90% of the time in things like depression and addictions, and sometimes chronic illness too. If people have chronic illness in their life, then 90% of the time they're psychologically reversed about letting that go. And what that means is that there's a part of the brain that wants to let it go, a part of the belief system that says, I really want to let this go, that in their conscious mind they do, but there's a subconscious reason for holding on to that. So, those people that really want to change, but for some reason, no matter how many times they try to change, they can't? Why is that? So they try 10 different things outside of them, and they say, well, that doesn't work, and that doesn't work, and that doesn't work, and that doesn't work. But they are the one common denominator in all of those things. So when they look within and say, what is it about me that doesn't want to let go of this problem? That's when we can use EFT to help really resolve the issue. So what happens is, usually there's a belief system that's causing PR, and that includes issues of deservingness. Maybe I don't deserve to be free of this problem. That includes issues of safety, of motivation, of permission and benefits. Sometimes there's benefits in not getting over the issue. Maybe I'm getting love and or attention and or affection because I hold on to this problem. I see some heads nodding. Yeah, I know someone like that.
Yeah.
So if they really let go of that, they're probably not even aware of it. They're probably not even conscious of it. So we have to honor and respect that as well. But if I really let go of that, what would my life look like? And when we think about that, if we get nervous in any way, shape, or form, then that indicates a deeper level of a belief system. Okay? But we always do a setup statement. So even though I have this problem and there's part of me that doesn't want to let it go, I can love and accept myself anyway. And maybe I can begin to choose to let that go. So we always incorporate a setup statement so that we can transcend that psychological reversal. Okay. So what we do first and foremost is we scale. When you have that thought, when you have that memory, when you tune into your physical body, on a scale of 1 to 10, give me a number for that feeling or that emotion if you can. And then let's say it's anger, for example. Anger at the teacher that humiliated you. That's a 10. What happens is we're going to keep doing rounds of tapping until that 10 gets to a 0. And what most people actually find when they get to a 0 is that the memory is the same, but it feels completely different. And then they switch. Some people aren't aware that they switch. But once anger is at a 0, there's another emotion that comes back up to an 8 or a 9 or a 10. And usually underneath anger is hurt. So now we have to get hurt from a 10 to a 0. And underneath hurt, sometimes there's sadness. Okay, well then we have to get sadness from a 10 to a 0. So sometimes the emotions come in a lot of layers. And we just have to be in a calm, quiet place and observing our physical body and giving ourselves the space and permission to feel those feelings so that we can peel them back one by one. Yeah? So again, we scale the problem. That's the first thing that we do on a scale of 1 to 10. When you think of X, Y, or Z, when you think about a dog around kids, give me a number for that example. Okay? So different things that EFT can be used for. This list is not conclusive. There's obviously more. Fears, phobias, and anxiety. Guilt, anger, grief, or sadness. Addictions, compulsions, including weight loss. So sometimes there's food addictions. Emotional, physical, or sexual abuse that people have experienced. Post-traumatic stress disorder, so anybody who's experienced some sort of trauma in their life. Gary Craig, the founder of EFT, has done wonderful work with the war veterans in the States, which is amazing. If they haven't been able to sleep or have had physical problems for 10 years or more, they can now, 20 years, and they can now sleep and they're feeling better because of EFT. Headaches and migraines, sports performance, including a range of motion, which we might try with your shoulder. Allergies and sensitivities, self-image or confidence, success and abundance, and limiting beliefs that surround that. And then chronic illnesses as well, like chronic fatigue, arthritis, etc., etc. It's really just about learning the application of it, because it's a bit of an art. So we've touched on that. Okay, so we scale on a scale of 1 to 10 first. And again, this is that's step 1 on your handout. Determine the problem that you want to work on and rate your intensity as you think about that problem. Step 2 is the setup phrase. So we're going to go through a round together, and we'll just do a general couple of rounds, and then we'll really tune into a specific problem that you want to work with. So the setup phrase is always the same, usually. Eventually we begin to change the setup phrase and have a bit more fun with it, but for today we'll try to keep it really simple, because the feedback I get from most clients is that I don't know what to say. I don't know how to say it, and I don't know the right words to say. So we'll keep it really simple, and then if somebody wants to volunteer to share what they want to work on, then you can just observe how I demonstrate and change the words sometimes, so they really land for the client. So the setup statement is always the same. Even though we have this problem, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Because most of the time we're withholding love and acceptance from ourselves until we get rid of our problem. So for example, if there's something in our life that we don't like about ourselves, sometimes we don't like ourselves very much because we have that problem. And then we get mad at ourselves for having that problem. And then we create a whole other neural pathway in our brain that's mad at ourselves for having that problem. And then we wonder why the problem can't go away. Because the mind is so busy, the critical mind is so busy being mad at ourselves for having the problem. And 20 or 30 or 40% of our thoughts during the day are surrounding that problem, that we woke up the next day and the problem was gone. It's almost not possible, because there's so many thoughts that surround it. There's so many thoughts that are a part of that. Do you see how that works? Because sometimes we believe that being critical about something in our life that we don't like about ourselves, if we're critical about it, that'll force us or persuade us to get rid of it. Or at least that's the idea. But what happens is that the critical mind is actually what keeps it alive. Because as you keep criticizing yourself about it, it has to still be there, because the critical mind is still criticizing it.
What if it has to do something with the technical ability? A technical ability, for instance, in school, or working with computer programs, or a technical ability to perhaps speak, be able to enunciate or speak, or learn a language, or that type of thing. And you're having difficulty learning that basic technique.
And you can be one of two places. I have this technical ability that isn't as I would like it to be.
Correct.
And I'm going to choose to work on that.
Correct.
Maybe I can choose to improve that. Maybe I can take some courses. And love and accept myself in the process. Accept myself where I am now. Sometimes we're over here, which is I have this technical problem and I'm not good enough. I should be able to do this. Why can't I do this? So there's two different vibrations to that, right? There's I can love and accept.
Is there something in between?
There's probably something in between where there's some critical thoughts or there's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then being able to have overcome that ability and then just getting through the learning process of that technique or whatever.
Yeah.
So your technique, you're telling me, is going to help me through that?
Yes, to love and even though I'm frustrated because I can't figure out this stupid computer, I can love and accept myself anyway, fully and completely. Even though I feel this frustration, I hate this stupid computer, I can love and accept myself anyway. So that you can go through the process of learning, because I feel the same way sometimes. You can go through the process of learning with grace and ease as opposed to frustration. Do you see what I mean?
I do.
Yeah. Because I've been there. Yeah.
Going through it.
And then we say, even though I have this problem, I love and accept myself anyway. And then we tap the 14 acupuncture points and we'll say what's called a reminder phrase. And that's just this problem. So this fear of the dog, this this frustration with the computer, this frustration with the computer, this frustration with the computer. Okay? But for the general purpose, we'll just use this problem.
I have a glassed-in office. People go see me do that.
Even though I'm worried that everyone's going to see me, And what I can't do with this stupid computer, I can love and accept myself anyway. That's fear of being embarrassed.
Oh.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Even though I'm going to be embarrassed because people are going to know I can't use this computer. Yeah. There's lots of layers to it. So we'll do a round together, just a general this problem round, and then we'll get into once you kind of know all the basics, then we'll pick something to work on. Okay, so we're going to do the gamut point procedure in between, and we'll just do a round of the tapping. So here's what it looks like. There's a round of tapping the points. This is the full protocol. Eventually we skip some of it. We do a round of the tapping. We're going to do a gamut point procedure, which is a couple of eye rolls, and then we hum and count and hum. And then we're going to go back and do the tapping the 14 points again. So we tap, eye roll, tap, and that's one complete round. It's going to seem like eternity the first time that you do it, and it takes you about 1 minute once you've got it down pat, less than that. Okay? So I'll give you one of two choices. You always have two choices for your setup statement. My personal preference is what's called the sore spot. So you can come to the crook of your collarbone, where that, like a man would normally knot his tie, and you come down about 3 inches, and then you come across. Now you can come right hand to right side, right hand to left side. You can come both hands to both sides, or you can cross, or whatever you want to do. So I'm going to take my right hand to my left side. Doesn't really matter. Now there's a lymphatic drainage point there. Your lymphatic system is designed to move toxins and bacteria out of the body, right? So when you get sick, you have extra lymph nodes here, and you can feel how they swell. There's extra lymph nodes here. There's extra lymph nodes in your inner thighs. This is just the most important, or most appropriate place, rather, to press as we say that that setup statement. So it actually should be kind of sore or tender if you're sore or tender when just don't hurt yourself in the process. If this isn't comfortable for you, if you're like, Carol, do I have to do this? You can come to your karate chop point instead. So the karate chop point is between the end of your pinky finger and your wrist, and you can either tap that side or you can tap both together. My personal preference is sore spot, but sometimes I just throw in karate chop point instead. So you get to choose. And we'll say together, I'll say, and then you can repeat back. Even though I have this problem, I can love and accept myself anyway. Even though I have this problem, I can love and accept myself anyway. We usually do it 3 times. Even though I have this problem, I can love and accept myself anyway. Awesome. It's pretty easy, right? Yeah. Take 2 fingers to the inner part of your eyebrow. It's okay if you take right hand to right eyebrow, left hand to left eyebrow, whatever you want to do. I take my left hand to my left. It's the beginning part of your eyebrow, and you're going to tap there. And don't hurt yourself, but make sure that it's also effective. And then we repeat. Yeah, that's fine.
Oh.
At the beginning part of the eyebrow. Yeah.
Okay.
And then we say this problem, which is your reminder phrase, so you can stay tuned into it, stay focused on it. Outside of the eye, this problem. Under the eye, which is right on the bone, yeah, this problem. Because we want to keep the energy system disrupted as we stay focused on it, so we pattern that, right? Under the nose, this problem. The chin point, this problem. Good. And then the collarbone point, which is just an inch below the collarbone. It's a little different than the sore spot, right? Just an inch below the collarbone. Right hand to right side, left hand to left side is fine. This problem. Good. And then about 4 inches underneath the armpit. So it's between the 11th and the 12th rib. And usually we use 3 or 4 fingers to tap that. This problem. And the next acupuncture point is the side of the thumb. And that's right at the tip of the thumb, right by the nail bed. Yeah. This problem. Right there. Up a little bit? Yeah. Right.
Inside?
No, right by the tip.
Oh.
No, other side.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
The inside?
The outside. Yeah, right there.
Yeah.
Awesome. And then we use the first finger again on the outside. This is the hardest part for most people. This problem. Middle finger, same spot. This problem. We skip the ring finger because we use that point later. To the pinky finger. This problem. Karate chop points together. This problem. Good. Now we're going to do that part in the middle where we do the eye movements and we hum and count and hum. So we're going to come to the back of your hand between your ring finger knuckle and your pinky finger knuckle, between the ring and the pinky finger, come to the back of the hand. Gorgeous. So as we're doing this, what we're doing is firing right brain, left brain, right brain, left brain. So when we hum, that exercise is actually a right brain exercise when you're doing something creative. Right? And when you're counting, it's a left brain exercise. Then we're going to back and hum, which is right brain. When you're looking to the right, you're firing left brain. When you're looking to the left, you're firing your right brain. So what happens when you create a right brain, left brain exercise is that it creates a whole brain experience where the process can be emotion can be processed from a deeper subconscious part of your brain called the amygdala, which is really like a lot of primal emotions, a lot of fear, a lot of negative emotions, and it allows that emotion to be processed to the prefrontal cortex. So that's why we're doing this. Usually helps people understand. Doesn't look quite so strange if you know why you're doing it. So we'll just take a look ahead of you, and then close your eyes, and then open your eyes, and then look down hard to the right without moving your head. Look down hard to the left, and then make the biggest circle you can find. Look to the left, look at the ceiling, look at the right, look at the floor, and then change directions. Keep tapping if you can.
It's hard.
I know it's hard. It gets easier, I promise. And then look at the side wall, the ceiling, the side wall, and the floor. We'll just take 2 seconds to hum O Canada together. When you're ready. Stop and count to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Go back to O Canada. Good, that's the middle part. Then we come back up to the inner part of the eyebrow. This problem. Outside of the eye, this problem. Under the eye, this problem. Under the nose, this problem. Chin, this problem. This problem. Oh, we can do both sides. You can do both sides under the arms, or you can do, this looks really funny, but you can do both sides under the arms if you want. This problem, or you can just do one side, that's fine too. Side of the thumb, this problem. First finger, this problem. Middle finger, this problem. Skip the ring finger, this problem. Karate chop points together, this problem. Okay. Take a deep full breath in and release. And this is where we would go back and check your number on a scale of 1 to 10. When you think of the dog, when you think of the computer, whatever it is the number decreased? I didn't really ask you to stay focused on that because we were just learning the technique, but the reason we also skip the ring finger is because this gamut point is the same energy meridian line. So you could tap it if you wanted to. You wouldn't explode and everything would be fine. But yeah, we tap the gamut point anyway. So sometimes we skip the fingers altogether. So if I do a little session with somebody, we're just going to skip the fingers altogether. Has everybody got the points memorized? It seems really long the first time you do it, right? Okay, so we'll show you how to do a remaining round. Let's say, for example, that when you think of the computer, you went from like your frustration with the computer, you went from an 8, and now when you think about it, it's, well, Carol, it's like a 4 or a 6. Maybe it's like a 4.
The 7 comes to my mind.
7 comes to mind. So when you think of the dog, not that I really asked you to focus on it, but if we were doing a remaining round, and she said, well, when I think of the dog and the fact that it might bite me, it's definitely a 10. And now that she's done a round of tapping, she might say, well, I don't know, it's like a 9, or maybe it's a 7, right? We haven't really been focusing on it, right? So we're going to do a remaining round, because some people go from a 10 to a 0. Some people go from a 10 to a 4 to a 3 to a 1 to a 0. Some people go from a 10 to a 9 to a 6 to a 0. There's no random. It's completely random how fast or how slow someone's energy system processes the emotion. So we keep doing remaining rounds until we get to a 0. Everybody see how that works? And then if you're just quiet and you sit with it, usually there's something else underneath that. And I usually just ask my client if it's a phrase that someone said to them that was really hurtful. And I say, okay, say the phrase again. They can laugh at it. Then I ask them, okay, what's your next thought? Because if you get to a 0, there's usually something underneath that, and you can just observe your next thought to see what comes up. That's a process of observing and reflecting, right? So we'll do a remaining round. I'll show you how to do that. And we'll do karate chop point this time instead of the sore spot, because we all did the sore spot last time. So we'll come to the sore spot, and just listen for the change when you do a second round, because your subconscious mind just heard you do that first round. So instead we say, even though I still have some of this problem,
Even though I still have some of this problem.
I can love and accept myself anyway.
I can love and accept myself anyway.
Even though I still have some of this problem,
Even though I still have some of this problem.
I can love and accept myself anyway.
I can love and accept myself anyway.
Even though I still have some of this problem,
Although I still have some of this problem.
I can love and accept myself anyway.
I can love and accept myself anyway.
And then inner part of the eyebrow, this remaining problem.
This remaining problem.
Outside of the eye, this remaining problem.
This remaining
We can do both sides if we want. Under the eye, this remaining problem.
This remaining problem.
Under the nose, this remaining problem.
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 The side of the thumb, this remaining problem.
This is remaining problem.
First finger, remaining problem.
Remaining problem.
Middle finger, remaining problem.
Remaining problem.
Pinky finger, remaining problem.
Remaining problem.
Karate chop, this remaining problem.
This is remaining problem.
Gamut point procedure, back of the hand. Good. Find a spot ahead of you. Close your eyes, open your eyes, down hard to the right without moving your head, down hard to the left. Good. And then make the biggest circle you can find. And then the other direction. Hold candle together. Count to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Inner part of the eyebrow, this remaining problem. This remaining problem.
This remaining problem.
Under the eye, this remaining problem.
This remaining problem.
Up a little bit? Yeah. Remaining problem.
Remaining problem.
Remaining problem.
Remaining problem.
This remaining problem.
Remaining problem.
This remaining problem.
Remaining problem.
Side of the thumb, remaining problem.
Remaining problem.
First finger, remaining problem.
Remaining problem.
Middle finger, remaining problem.
Remaining problem.
Pinky finger, remaining problem.
Remaining problem.
Karate chop, remaining problem.
Remaining problem.
Long, deep, full breath in. Long, deep, full breath out. Does anybody feel at least a little bit calmer? Not that we were. A little bit calmer. This is just a calm feeling that people get as a result. Any questions so far?
You feel an inner vibration?
Yeah, some people feel that.
I'm feeling that.
Some people feel like, I've had one client that said because we were working on anger or something, I forget what it was. She said when she got down to about a 4, we did another round, she could feel the energy kind of move out of her feet. She just I just felt it move right out of my feet. Most people can feel the energy shift or change.
It's shifting.
Yeah. You feel like it's going, some people feel like they feel it in their stomach, or they feel it in their chest, or they feel it in their throat. If there's a remaining number left that's not budging or not moving, then I would say, even though I still have some of this anger that's left in my throat, or even though I still have some of this fear that's left in my throat, I can love and accept myself anyway. This remaining fear, it's like it's stuck in my throat. Maybe I can move it up and out with my breath. This remaining fear that feels like it's stuck in my throat, maybe I can move it up and out with my breath. Because a lot of people get physical sensations in their body if the emotions are really real for them. And sometimes I can sit across from a client and be like, is it in your stomach? Because I almost feel it in my stomach too, or I almost feel it with them. So it's a process of going through it. The other thing that I find most people do with the setup statement is, though they're really perfectly fine with saying they have that problem, but the love and accept myself part is a bit more difficult. So you can reword that if you're not loving the fact that you have to say that. Even though I don't even think I love and accept myself, I'm going to just let myself be today. And if you are okay with saying that you love and accept yourself, then feel free to say it with a bit more emphasis, with a bit more strength behind it. Yeah. So. Okay. Okay. So some tips for improving your success with EFT. The more specific you can be, the better. So you can describe the pain, or relate to specific events, or relate to specific people. The other most common mistake with new people who are doing EFT is that they take too global or too big of an issue. So they're attacking something that's like this big. So even though I have low self-esteem, I can love and accept myself, is too big for EFT. Not that it's too big of a concept, there's just a better way to approach it. Because you could approach it low self-esteem every day, this low self-esteem, but you'd have to do like 2 hours a day every day for 6 months to really see the significant change. If I said to you, okay, what are the top 100 or top 50 events in your life that you think have contributed to that low self-esteem? And you said, well, my dad told me this one time, and my mom said this to me one time, my brother told me this one time, and a teacher told me this one time. Those are different aspects. And that word aspect is going to be really important to be successful with EFT. So I would say, okay, tell me on a scale of 1 to 0 how you feel about dad's comment, and tap until that's a 0. Tell me on a scale of 1 to 10 how you feel about mom's comment. Tap until that's a 0. The teacher's comment until it's a 0. And every other event that's contributed to low self-esteem, for example. So you see how it works? So that's the important part. So when the next time we do a round, I'm going to get you to all silently choose a topic in your head. And
Sorry.
oh, it's okay. Sometimes I yawn when I do EFT. Sometimes when you feel the energy come out, sometimes I yawn when I do it. So I'm not offended if you feel like you need to do that. We're all going to choose something that we want to work on, and you can either choose to share that or not, because I'm fine with respecting the fact that you might not want to share that. It just does help me guide you in the right direction in terms of how to use the right words to do it. Yeah? So, when I talk about being specific, let's say you're working on a physical pain or discomfort in the body, then be as specific as you can. Is it sharp? Is it dull? If you could give it a color, what color would it be? Is it your right side? Is it your left side? Just, again, be as specific as you can, right? And if there was an emotion behind the pain, what would the emotion be? That's the other thing, is that it becomes like a very intricate dance almost. Because sometimes there's a lot of frustration or other emotions about the pain or about the experience, but there's also emotions that are sometimes within the pain that we're holding on to. Unconsciously, of course. If you're working on fears, when did they start? Do you know the cause? Visualize the problem, try to imagine the situation that causes the fear. Approach the fear slowly and treating it each step of the way. So if it's a fear of spiders, for example, you can tap just on the fear of spiders, but what usually comes up after we get through that top layer is, well, actually, I don't really like the way it moves. That's what freaks me out. Okay, do a round of tapping until you get a 0. I don't like the way it spins that web. I hate that idea. I hate that thought. Okay, tap until that's a 0. Actually, no, it's not about that. It's the fuzzy body tarantula thing that I don't like. Okay, tap until that idea, that concept is a 0 for you. I'm okay with it now. It's getting better, but I am not going to let that thing touch me. There's no way I could handle that spider crawling on me. Okay, let's tap until that's a 0. So that's another really good example of all the different aspects for a fear. So instead of just tapping on fear of spiders, we tap on all the different aspects. I had a really good example with a client who had a fear of needles. And it was, no, it's not, I'm not afraid of the needles. I'm afraid the nurse might make a mistake. Okay, well, tap until that's a 0. Okay, well, actually, I'm afraid of the needle going in my arm. Okay, tap until that's a 0. I said, what's your earliest memory of this same problem? Oh, well, when I was 5, I had to get blood work done. And I very specifically remember my mom getting really upset with the nurse and freaking out because she thought she was going to make a mistake. And how did that make you feel? Oh, well, I was terrified. Even though my mom freaked out and I was terrified, I can love and accept myself. And we tapped until that memory was a 0. She emailed me a week later and said, Carol, I went to get blood work and I was absolutely 100% perfectly fine. She said it was fine. It was just blood work. So for fears and phobias, it works beautifully as long as we get all the little intricate aspects of it. So the more that you can actually make it real, like if you have a fear of spiders, go find a spider or go to the pet store. If it's a fear of needles, then do the tapping while you're at the blood clinic. Do you know what I mean? If I had a dog here and some small children.
Fears of things that haven't happened yet. That you don't have a pregnant, the fear of being, the fear of what, being a new mom.
The fear of the pain and will I do it right?
Yeah, all that sort of stuff. But I don't have any physical, memory.
Oh,
that's sort of the
anticipation.
Yeah, that's my problem.
I did a little bit of work with a woman who was about 6 months, and it was beautiful. I just said, okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, you got to tease out the fear. Okay, well, what is it that you're really afraid of? the pain of the labor, or I'm really afraid of
the baby not being perfect.
Baby not being perfect. And I'm really afraid of but we would tap on them separately. Okay? On a scale of 1 to 10, how afraid are you that the baby won't be perfect? If you had to give it a number.
I go through phases. Sometimes I'm like 0, I'm fine with it, and then sometimes I'm like, right now I'm just sort of thinking, but I'm like 10, but I know I'm gonna love the baby anyways.
Yes.
It doesn't matter.
So I just get them to imagine that the baby wasn't perfect, and what feeling comes up.
I get a 7.
It's like a 7, okay. And then we would tap on that until it's a 0, and the thought's gonna change. That's the beautiful part. You're like, because you can also say, I'm gonna love the baby even if he or she isn't perfect, right? But there's a flip-flop that happens. And the other aspect is still very true for you, that I really have this fear that the baby won't be perfect. So we're going to tap until that's a 0. And we can do that if you want. Do you want to do that to see how it changes?
Sure.
Okay. So we'll do a round. I'm sorry, Robin. And in the meantime, choose something specific for yourself. So you're going to tap along as I tap with Robin. So you'll do the tapping points, you just won't say anything. And in the meantime, I want you to tune into your problem, your issue, your anxiety, your fear, Does everybody have something they want to work on? Just yes? Do you have something you want to work on? Yes? 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 And can you before we start, give it a number? Because Robin's at about a 7. Your number can be whatever it is. When you think of that, imagine it, visualize it, focus on it. What's the number that comes up in your head in terms of again, be specific, right? Because we've talked about aspects. Just choose one. What's your number?
Oh, I'd say probably about 9.
9?
Yeah.
Some people are like, it's a 15, Carol.
Yeah, go higher.
What is it if you think of it?
About 8.
About an 8? 9? Great. And so we'll all tap together, but this is called borrowing benefits. This is a really good example. So there's 5 of you, and we can all tap on our own issues just by really tuning into it in your mind. But we're going to help Robin in the meantime. And we'll just see if your numbers decreased, even though we're tapping on Robin's. Fear. So is it specifically, even though I'm afraid the baby won't be perfect. Is that right? Or is it something more specific than that?
I don't know. I'm not going to be a perfect mother. I don't know if that's more specific.
That's a different aspect.
That's good. I think that's probably more because that just made me go annoying.
So is that more important? I'm not going to be a perfect mother?
Yeah, probably.
And
I'm going to love my baby regardless. And I know that.
Yes.
But I mean,
is there still fear of the baby not being perfect?
Yeah.
What's a bigger priority?
Probably my not being a perfect mom.
Okay. And that's really real.
No, I'm just kidding. You'll say.
Even though, you can all join when you're ready, even though I have this fear I'm not going to be a perfect mom.
I have fear that I'm not going to be a perfect mom.
I can love and accept myself anyway.
I can love and accept myself anyway.
Fully and completely.
Fully and completely.
Even though I have this fear,
Even though I have this fear,
I'm not going to be a perfect
I'm
mom.
not going to be a perfect mom.
I can love and accept myself anyway.
I can love and accept myself anyway.
Fully and completely.
Fully and completely.
One more time. Even though I have this fear,
Even though I have this fear,
I might not be a perfect mom.
I might not be a perfect mom.
I'm going to love and accept myself anyway.
I'm going to love and accept myself anyway.
Maybe choose
Maybe choose
to know
to know
I'm going to do the best that I can as a mom.
that I'm going to do the best that I can as a mom.
Inner part of the eyebrow, this fear.
This fear.
I might not be a perfect mom.
I will not be a perfect mom.
Under the eye, this fear.
This fear.
I'm not going to be a perfect mom.
I'm not going to be a perfect mom.
This fear.
This fear.
I'm not going to be a perfect mom.
I'm not going to be a perfect mom.
This fear.
This fear.
I'm not going to be a perfect mom.
I'm not going to be a perfect mom.
I'm going to make mistakes.
I'm going to make mistakes.
I'm not going to do everything perfect.
I'm not going to do everything perfect.
But that baby sure deserves
That baby sure deserves
for me to do everything perfect.
for me to do everything perfect.
But man, that's exhausting.
That's exhausting.
Back of the hand. Close your eyes. Open your eyes. Look down hard to the right. Down hard to the left. Big circle. Other way. Mm-hmm. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Mm-hmm. I am not going to be a perfect mom.
I'm not going to be a perfect
I am pretty sure of that.
I'm pretty sure.
I am definitely not going to be a perfect mom. I am pretty sure of that.
I'm pretty sure of that.
I'd like to be a perfect mom.
I'd like to be a perfect
I'd like to be a perfect mom.
I'd like to be a perfect
But I can't do that.
I can't do that.
I'm pretty sure I can't do that.
I'm pretty sure I can't do that.
And maybe that's okay.
And maybe that's okay.
Maybe I can just do the best I can.
Maybe I can just do the best I can.
Maybe I can 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 do the best I can.
And there's one other point I'll show you. It's top of the head, crown chakra, or the meaning of 10,000 points. Maybe I can love and accept myself anyway.
Maybe I can love and accept myself anyway.
And just do the best that I can as a mom.
And do the best that I can as a mom.
Is it your first time?
Yeah.
Because I'm a first time mom.
I'm a first time mom.
Deep full breath in. And out. And then just say out loud, I'm afraid I'm not going to be a perfect mom.
I'm afraid I'm not going to be a perfect mom.
And give me a number for that.
6.
6. What's your next thought?
Next thought is now I'm anxious that I'm not anxious.
She's anxious that she's not anxious because you should be anxious.
Yeah.
Okay. Stay with that. Has anybody's number changed? Tune into your number. You're 5?
Yeah.
From a 10.
10.
Awesome. 5 from a
9.
5 from a 9.
Or a 6.
6 from a
8.
6 from an 8.
Yeah, about a 7.
6 or 7 from a 10.
9.
Newer 9.
Yeah.
We'll do the remaining. So I want you, because Robin, it's going to be, there's probably lots to it, right?
Yeah.
And it looks like this, all the different aspects, but they're really all connected. And your brain wants to go here. Your brain wants to go to that main part, right? But there's so many different aspects of it. So try to stay focused just on, I'm not going to be a perfect mom. And that's a 6.
Saying it again just made it go to 7.
That's okay. What is being...
I was going to say, I guess this probably goes to me, actually, it's me, goes to my
There's
perfectionist
somebody
nature.
looking through there, and it's really bothering me.
We can do that. Sure.
Yeah, that's really annoying me. I'm sorry. to
That's
interrupt.
okay. Oh!
Uh-oh.
And that's why we don't fix it. So they have a driving school upstairs.
Oh.
So when they can't do them, I would suspect it's the driving school.
Yeah.
Thank you, Robin. That's better.
Thank you.
Yeah, because they might wonder what we're doing tapping
Yeah.
in here.
Yeah.
What are those people doing?
Thank you, Robin.
Even though
Even though
I still have this fear
I still have this fear
that I won't be a perfect mom,
that I won't be a perfect mom.
I'm going to love and accept myself anyway,
I'm going to love and accept myself anyway,
fully and completely.
fully and completely.
Even though I still have some of this fear
Even though I still have some of this fear
that I will not be a perfect mom,
that I won't be a perfect mom,
I can love and accept myself anyway.
I can love and accept myself anyway.
Even though I still have this fear
Even though I still have this fear
that I'm not going to be a perfect mom,
that I'm not going to have to be a perfect mom,
I can love and accept myself anyway.
I can love and accept myself anyway.
And maybe choose to see
And maybe choose to see
that really everything is perfect
that really everything is perfect
in its imperfection,
in its imperfection.
in a part of the eyebrow. This remaining fear,
This remaining fear.
this remaining fear,
This remaining fear.
this remaining fear.
This remaining fear.
Maybe it's okay
Maybe it's okay
to not be perfect.
to not be perfect.
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
I have to be a perfect mom.
I have to be a perfect.
It is not okay.
It's not okay.
I have to be a perfect mom.
I have to be a perfect mom.
Maybe it's okay
Maybe it's okay
to not be a perfect
to
mom.
not be a perfect mom.
No, I have to be perfect at it.
No, I have to be perfect at it.
Okay, back of the hand. Close, open, down hard right, down hard left, big circle. Other way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This remaining fear. This remaining fear. I won't be a perfect mom.
I won't be a perfect mom.
This remaining fear. I won't be a perfect mom.
I won't be a perfect mom.
This remaining fear.
This remaining fear.
What if I'm not a perfect mom?
What if I'm not a perfect mom?
I'm just going to ruin it all.
Just gonna ruin it all.
This remaining fear.
This remaining fear.
Maybe I can let it go.
Maybe I can let it go.
A little bit at a time.
A little bit at a time.
One breath at a time.
One breath at a time.
And instead choose to see
And instead choose to see
that everything is perfect
that everything is perfect
in its imperfection.
in its imperfection.
Deep full breath in and out. And then say out loud, I'm afraid I won't be a perfect mom.
I'm afraid I won't be a perfect mom.
And then give me a number.
3. Something very neutral.
And it feels neutral, but it's like a 3. There's a little bit left.
I'm still feeling like in here in my chest, like in the back. But
yeah, so she feels it in her chest and back, and it's fascinating.
My chest is deep in there.
Yeah. So, and the energy is trying to move out, and so usually I encourage it just to move.
I usually release like right here. So
okay. So
it just feels like it's like sort of stuck behind my spine.
Okay, we'll do another remaining round. Check in with your own number, just for curiosity.
I'm focusing more on hers.
Okay. It's really hard because you know each other quite well.
No, don't apologize. Sorry, what?
Do you know each other quite well, or are you just are you a mom?
No,
or
it's just I guess I have trouble concentrating.
That's okay. It is hard, but just go back to your issue. You can think about Robin and because it's really hard, right? You can think about Robin while you're tapping, and just go back to your own issue in your mind now and see if your numbers change anyway, even though you were tapping for Robin.
Yeah, probably move down a notch.
Okay, so just remember what you're tapping on. What's your number when you think of it?
It's gone down a bit. I don't know, I guess
I think you were 6.
Maybe 5.5. Like it's slowly going down, but then it's like my mind starts racing about the possibilities if X, Y, Z happened or different scenarios, and that starts to
increase. Now, so that's a different aspect coming up.
Yeah.
So that aspect might actually be closer to a 0. It's just that the brain begins, okay, well that's fine, but this is really a problem.
Yeah.
Okay, when that gets to 0, the mind moves really quick. So you've just got to watch how it. Now you can pick one of those other scenarios if you like. Because I would probably at this point move you on. Okay. If the brain starts to do that, it's usually I either get someone to stay with that first aspect. What was it? Now, how do you feel when you just think of that or just say that? You're like, oh, that doesn't matter. This is the problem. Okay, well then that's a 0. Just tell me what the next thing is that you want to tap on.
And what if your mind just keeps going? Like if it keeps finding other things and these things haven't ever happened.
That's okay.
It's just
even though I have a fear that this might happen?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Just do one at a time. Okay. Yeah. Okay, go to 3. Usually when people, if they get low and then they're stuck, then that's when we start to branch off into what might be underneath that.
I'm trouble with crowded chop, and I'm coordinated.
Take your hands and then do this. Turn your one palm up, and then 2. Yeah, that's it. So you can do this way or this way.
Okay, got it. I got it.
Yeah. Or you can just tap the side, that's fine too. Do you know what your number's at? 4 to 3.
Yeah.
So Robin made a comment, if I can go back to that, if that's okay, that you have a bit of a perfectionist nature in general. Yeah. So if her number gets stuck, I would say we got to go way back there, which we might not do today, but usually underneath perfectionism is I'm not good enough, right? And so I would ask you, who told you and what made you believe that at some level you weren't good enough? And there's probably 100 different things that have happened, or there might just be one that have contributed to that belief that I'm not good enough. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be a really good mom, especially for a first-time mom. It's perfectly normal and natural to feel what you're feeling.